Okay, guys, so today is the day that I'm going to get this 30-inch Monarch ready for its journey to Tennessee. So, a bit over a year ago, a viewer, a fellow named Paul, super nice guy, we've become friends, chatted a bunch on the phone and exchanged a bunch of trials and tribulations of being a hobby machinist. Anyway, we negotiated a deal back then for this lathe, and we finally have gotten to the point where it's time to button her up and send her on her way. So, what I'm going to do today is we're going to take the tubes out. I'm going to mark everything, and then get a little box together that's going to have some of the extra items like the manual, and there was a collet chuck, I think. There was some other kind of a chuck thing. Anyway, I'll show you when I get the box put together. So we'll get this thing going, but first order of business is going to be to pull the tubes out of here and get them packaged so that they can have their little journey nice and safe. And okay, yeah, let's get started. Okay, here we go. So I'll just show you real quick. So this is the book that I bought from Monarch. So I basically called up Terry over at Monarch and told her what the serial number of this particular lathe was, and she sent me the documentation that was for this particular machine. So it includes all the exact schematics and, of course, operations and all the other stuff. So handy and interesting that they had all the documentation after all these years. So let's see, let's get this door open here. So for this journey, what we want to do is we want to pull these tubes out. Geez, wrong size. Get them wrapped up in an appropriate box and get them on their way. Okay. There's a screw up here in this corner, in this, okay, see that? What's going on here? Yeah. So there's a screw up here, Allen button head, and then this guy falls down, and there's no springs or cylinders that hold it from flopping down, so you want to let it down gently. And now what we'll do is we are going to mark the locations of these wires, so that when Paul puts this thing back together, it'll be put back together in the exact same way that it was taken apart. All right, so. And what I'll do is I'm just going to mark them numerically. So this will be number 1. And let's get that. See if I can get you maybe in a better spot so you can see kind of what's really happening here. Okay. All right, so the back of these tubes connect up to the transformer, and then over here there's a bunch of different taps on this transformer. And what you do is there's actually a procedure. You measure the certain voltage that they tell you to measure, and you move your taps around to get that voltage to come into whatever spec that it is. I did check that, and it's within the tolerance. I forget what the percentage was, but whatever voltage I have here, it was within tolerance. Okay. There we go. We're just going to label this one number 2. And I'm also going to label the tube so that they go in the same position that they came out of when I got it. So left tube and right tube. We'll just make sure that they're put in the same position. When I was talking to Paul about this machine, we were both kind of talking about how we kind of prefer to leave these drive systems intact if you can possibly do it. I think I read somewhere that somebody, some electrical engineer came up with a solid state version of this, and he actually put blue LEDs in it that glow, so it looked like this. He might have even sort of used these old tubes and just inserted his electronics into it. I know I read about it somewhere, and I haven't looked recently, but it wouldn't surprise me that somebody came up with something like that. These tubes haven't been available for a long time, other than new old stock or used, and they're really expensive. And there's a couple wing nuts down below here that hold it up. You know what, I'm gonna get this little tube out of here first. This right here is the new tube that I had to get to replace, the one that was broken, if you remember. So there's a little wire that comes up here and it just soldered on. So I thought I was going to be able to do, the same thing. I thought I was going to be able to just take the cap that you saw was stuck in here, put it on here, and just solder the wire. And what I actually noticed was that little wire was rusted, and the rust, you could see the mark that was in the glass. So I think that the tube probably was leaking at the top there. So anyway, in this particular case, the C3J tube I was able to find, I think I might have found it on eBay, and it was new old stock, so this is a brand new tube. All right. There's just a couple wing nuts in the bottom that hold it on for this flange right here. So now we got the two ground posts that we have to disconnect. So let's get those off of there. One thing that Paul's going to find out when he starts cleaning this machine up is, in these olden days, when they were using actual, not soluble oil, but real oil, and heating it up and burning it, that oil got everywhere. So there's just like this fine oil mist that, I think oil just condensed on everything from the oil vapors. Probably not the healthiest environment, to be breathing, but that's the way it was back in the day. All right, so I'm going to snug these up so that they don't come off. These are brass nuts and washers, except for the little star washer. Okay, I'm going to mark them, even though there should be no mistake of what's happening here, because they're only going to fit one way, but we'll mark them anyway. I would mention to Paul that when he goes to reinstall, that this one here appears to be missing its star washer. I would say it's probably a good idea to install a star washer. Okay, so that tube is out. Let's get those marked. Okay. Okay. Now, of course, there's not going to be really a question. I mean, this is the end of the tube. This guy's going to go here. So the brown ground lead is going to go in the front, and the green ground lead will go in the back, but I'll mark them anyway. I talked before about, you know, what's the labeling here on the back of this thing. So you have the field plus, you have field minus, and a ground. And they just connect up to this 2 taps on that transformer. Close this thing back up. Whoop, I forgot these 2 thing nuts. You know, it's kind of odd. See, I see these butt splices, and there's one over here. Those butt splices are on my other lathes too, just sort of randomly throughout the machine, and I don't know why, and I don't know if they're factory original, but it's just, I don't know, a little peculiar. Okay, let's keep that out of the way, get this closed up. And for the journey here, this was, if you remember, this was just hand tight, so I am going to tighten that right up so it doesn't come apart. Somewhere, of course, right up in here. But let's get this guy tight. Okay. All right, so all of our business is done in here. And we'll tighten this guy up. So, you know what, this, it's either full of paint, this, where are you at? This thing is either full of paint, I can't really see, or it's stripped out. All these things are, I made new ones on my other lathe, so they basically thread in to the door, and then looks like they chucked them up and just spun the threads off so that they stay sort of captured. But we'll get them tightened up. And the same thing on the other electrical enclosure. Yeah, maybe I'll get a little pick and get in there and scrape the paint out. Okay, so we're getting the 2 larger tubes. I think they're the 6Js. Getting these guys wrapped up. We're going to get them in their boxes. We'll probably put the the C3J tube. We'll put that in one of those boxes, and I'll mark out on the outside of the box what's in those. So let me get these guys in the box, wrapped up and ready to go. Okay, guys, so here's what's going with the 30-inch Monarch 10EE. So we have the manual that I got from Monarch Lathes. I have 2 boxes. One box has 2 tubes in it, a big tube and a little tube. The other box has the other big tube. I have this here, which I believe is a multi-start threading chuck, or adapter, I guess I would call it. And then there's this collet chuck. So I don't have any of the these collets other than the one that's in here. I want to say these are like 2Js or something. And anyway, it works. I snugged that thing down. So those bits are going with that lathe. So it is a Saturday. It's a Saturday, and I think that Wednesday or Thursday this week, the truck should be here to pick up that machine. So what I've got to do, like I showed you earlier, hopefully it's going to warm up. It was minus 14. I think you saw that. I couldn't get that skid steer started. It just didn't want to start. So tomorrow it's supposed to be in the like high teens, low 20s. It should start then. So I'll start that thing up, get the forks on it, and then bring it into my shop, and I'll leave it in the shop. So just in case it stays cold, I'll be able to load this lathe up for Paul. Okay, guys, see you soon. All right, guys, well, today we're going to be loading up the 30-inch lathe for Paul down in Tennessee. Heading down right now. It's about 6 o'clock this morning. I'm going to go start up the skid steer and get the forks on it, but it might not start. If you see that right there, it's 10 below zero. And yeah, unfortunately, those old diesel machines don't like to start when it's this cold. So oh, there we go, minus 11. Oof. All right, well, let's get down there and see if we can't get it started. Okay, we're heading from my house down to the shop. Oh, look at our horses are... Well, I don't think they're the happiest campers in the world. They'll be okay. I bet the chickens are frozen. Alright, well, let's see what we're gonna do. Okay, so there. We're gonna start up that skid steer right there. Take that snow blower off of it, and then we'll see if we can't get it fired up. I'll bring it back in a minute. So, look at that, minus 12. Cold. So guys, a little dilemma. You saw this morning that we were at minus 14 or so, and so my skid steer was parked right here, so I was gonna pull it out so that I could get the forks on it, so I could get that lathe loaded up for Paul. And what I typically do around here is drive the machine up on you know, some logs or, you know, some split wood or something to keep the tracks off the ground. Well, this darn thing was frozen solid to the ground. So after about, I don't know, a couple hours of back and forth, it finally broke free. And so what I did was I moved it inside the shed, and I'm gonna leave it in there until the guy shows up, because you know, I wound up heating the tracks up a little bit to get it unstuck, and so they're, you know, a little wet. I don't want it to freeze again. It's, you know, it's going to be single digits or around 0 the next couple nights, so it'll get frozen. So anyway, we're going to load it from this door right here. Man, it's cold right now. We're going to load it out of this door, and let me show you what I did inside. Okay, so you remember it was kind of parked right here. It was up on a couple three blocks. Those lathes have like 3 pads on the bottom, you know, like a 3-point mounting system. This thing actually had a bus duct when it was connected up, but it had been cut, so I'll leave it there. I'll give Paul a shout and see if he wants that. So I got the thing moved over here. I went back to the book, and it seems like it should be right around 4,000 pounds. What I did was, you know, I kind of moved the carriage back and forth to get the, you know, kind of center of gravity where I wanted it. But you see, it's all here, and it's dirty. So next up, we'll when the guy shows up with his, I don't know if he's come with a flatbed or a trailer, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, when he gets here, we're going to get this thing loaded on. So, all right, so here we go. We got the 30-inch 10EE loaded up on the skid steer, the old Kubota here. Like I said, really, really hard starting this morning, but got her going. I just wrapped it up with some plastic wrap to try and, you know, keep all the weather out of it. I just talked to the driver. He's on his way. I'll be here in a couple hours. They do have some tarps and stuff. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to cut through the plastic here and over here, and then he can strap down that way, because I really don't like the idea of strapping over top of it, because that's how those the lead screws and you know, for the feed get bent. And I locked down the tailstock. I locked down the you can't see it too well, but I locked down the carriage as well, so nothing should move. All right, we'll come back when that guy shows up. Okay, hard to see, but got this thing up on the machine, and you can see the lathe right up there. I don't have a way of holding this thing. So you say about 4,000 pounds? Yep, exactly. Yep.
try and back up. Still got a lot of snow in the way here, so let's see if we can fit it in over here. So we had to find a little place to let him turn around.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and I think off she goes. Yep. Off to its new owner, and hopefully a great new adventure. All right, well, we got to go put the tractor away. Okay, here we go.
Hey guys, so that pretty much wraps up both this lathe restoration project and also getting the 30-inch shipped out. So I hope you guys enjoyed the series, and next up we'll be kind of concentrating more on the Impala resto mod project and a bunch of little machining projects that I have. So stay tuned. We'll have some interesting stuff over the next few weeks. Got some travel plans coming up, and work is a little bit bizarre and crazy. So get caught up there, and then we'll get back on my own shop projects. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.